you guys should hear anybody shouting or clapping really loudly in the background, don't worry about it. It's just my punk-ass kids. Speaking of kids, let's talk about China Lake. So I finished field med. Is that something in my teeth? No. So I finished field med, and I didn't even go to the graduation. You know, I went to the graduation, but my wife and my son were in town for it, and I told them, just don't worry about the graduation. I was kind of just over it. You know, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder when I was leaving field med. I just ready to be done with that place. So graduation went off. I got my little shield, and that was it. So took off, picked up the family, grabbed some supplies, had actually a really, really nice vacation. Not really a vacation. I had a couple of weeks off, but we didn't really do much. But we did go up to Disneyland. I surprised my child, who's now 17, by the way, feeling old. We took him to Disneyland under the pretense that we were going to the dentist. We drove up to China Lake to check out what the housing situation looked like. By the way, not good. And I think just about everyone who goes to China Lake either stays in the barracks or stays on base, because the houses out in town, one, they're derelict, and two, they're ridiculously expensive. So a lot easier to just live on base. So that's my recommendation if you should find yourself in the position of going to China Lake. But checked it out for a day, spent the night, drove back down, went to Disneyland after I told my son we were going to the dentist, and he was looking around like, wait a minute, does it say Disneyland? Is that Disneyland? Like, yeah. He said, oh, could we go to Disneyland? I said, oh, didn't I say Disneyland? No, you said the dentist. Oh, did I? Oh, I'm sorry. I had that speech impediment. Sometimes I say Disneyland, it sounds like dentist. Oh, we had a blast. We had a really nice time. So China Lake, let's talk about it. I learned a lot of things in China Lake. A lot of things about the Navy, a lot of things about myself, a lot of things about Navy medicine in general, doctors, nurses, just where everything kind of stacks up. China Lake is sort of where I finally realized I was just never going to be an EP sailor. Now, if you don't understand what an EP is relating to the what am I trying to say? The evaluation structure whereby you get X amount of points going into an advancement exam. So EP is the highest rating that you can get. That's basically saying that you're the best E3, E4, E5, whatever at that command. And I think they only give out a couple of EPs for each rank. And I understood there finally I was never going to be an EP sailor, because if the stuff that I did at China Lake didn't get me an EP, nothing was ever going to. So let's just backtrack for a second. So China Lake, I was stationed at the clinic. There's a clinic, and then there's the flight line, and I guess they have a couple of corpsmen there, a couple search and rescue guys, or guys that work with the CB battalions that could be stationed out there. But for the most part, just about every corpsman on China Lake is going to be at the clinic, and it's a nice clinic actually. It's it was a nice little spot. The best thing about China Lake is that nobody really beefed with each other, you know. I was there for 2 years. Every weekend we were either having like Super Bowl parties or MMA nights, or I'm over at someone else's house, or they're coming to our house. You know, it really was like a little family, because there was only about maybe 30 corpsmen in total, you know. A couple of doctors, an IDC, one, maybe two chiefs at a time. So it's a really small command. Certainly the smallest I've ever been to. Just the chain of command was so small. I mean, I saw the CO probably every day, you know, who incidentally was a really cool guy. Captain Wiley, if you're watching this, you are easily one of the coolest COs I've ever met. We're talking about a Navy captain, who is a pilot, who we would frequently see rolling around the base on one of those Razor scooters in his flight suit, and just give you an indication of what he was like. He was just a cool guy. Get a little water here. So, China Lake, like I said, nobody really beefed with each other. We were all pretty tight. There were a couple people that I would avoid if you gave me the option, hanging out with this guy or not. I'd probably say not, but those people were few and far between. It was a pretty good atmosphere. When I say that I wasn't going to be that EP sailor, it's basically because, we had so much stuff going on. China Lake was it was almost like its own little hospital. And when I first got there, I was working in family practice where you see, people come in for just general stuff. My back hurts, my leg hurts, my knee hurts, blah, blah, blah. I'm sick. So saw a lot of dependents. Most of the active duty was seen by the IDC. I worked with the actual doctors, and we saw mainly dependents, maybe a handful of foreign military, some active duty. It's a pretty mixed bag, but the good thing about it was I got a chance to see a lot of different stuff. I got to see, do some stitches and do a couple of casts and some wart removals, just wound care, just a lot of different stuff. Babies, that was my first experience with small children. So definitely gave me a different skill set than what I'd had coming from Balboa. So I keep dancing over this. The reason I say that I was never going to be an EP sailor after my time in China Lake is because I realized that even though I was doing just about everything that I was going to do, by the time I was ready to PCS from China Lake, I was working family med, or I could work family med, pharmacy, x-ray, lab, and I was a CFL. And I did volunteer work, on base, off base. We would have these car washes to raise money. We actually had a really, really fun Christmas party. And to this day, it's really the only official Navy party that I've ever been to, because we were just that tight. I'm just not really a social guy, I just avoid it. I'd rather just see people casually and not in the party atmosphere. But that was the most outgoing I've ever been at a command to this day, with the command in its entirety. One or two people here and there, sure, but with the entire command, that is the most social I've ever been and the most involved I'd ever been. I had all this different stuff that I could do. They were always calling on me, and I still was not able to get an EP as an E4. And I think at the time there were maybe like 5 or 6 E4s, and I still wasn't able to be. And I'll bet a lot of you out there have gotten this too. Oh, you're our number 1 MP. I think I got that twice, and it pissed me off so bad. But when I PCS from there, I had picked up X-ray school. They gave me an award and a transfer EP. So, that at least was gracious of them, and I appreciate it. But I just realized, dang, if that's not enough, then it's never going to be enough. So from there, I just, I did a little volunteer stuff here and there, but I mainly focused on myself, because if I can't make it work, with an MP or whatever eval I end up getting, then it's just never going to work. So evals aside, man, again, cast of characters, I got in trouble kind of early on with China Lake. I guess if you could call it trouble. It was just, there was a lot of people in China Lake that were just out for themselves, a lot of higher ups that were out for themselves. I'm not going to name names, but they know who they are. They don't need me to sit there and do it, but I just, this is the kind of situation I'm talking about. So I've been working, for maybe about 2 weeks. I'd actually started off working with the IDC, which I was really excited about, because being an IDC had fascinated me. But, they needed help with family med, so I ended up moving over there, working with one of the doctors. So before I got really into that, though, I was answering the phones, because that was the shit job that nobody wanted. Answering phones, sitting there. That was the reason I got in the Navy in the first place, is to get away from answering the damn phones in some call center. When I joined the Navy, I was working at American Express Business Travel basically, arranging flights and rental cars and hotels for a bunch of corporate douchebags. I mean, that's the exact reason I joined the Navy, was to get away from that. So here I am in China Lake in the middle of nowhere, and what are they having me do? Answering phones, But I just got there. I don't want to complain, so I do it. So I'm answering the phone, and like I said, I've been doing it for about 2 weeks. I don't know exactly how the system works. I know enough to book appointments and, let people know, okay, your appointment's going to be at this time on this day. Show up 15 minutes early, blah, 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 the whole spiel. So I don't know that for certain appointments have to have 2 joint appointments that are 30 minutes or 20 minutes back to back. But anyway, it has to be an entire hour for this appointment because it's a procedure. I don't know that. Nobody told me that. I've been answering the phones for a couple of weeks and I didn't know that. So tell me why, instead of booking it as a long appointment, I book it as the regular appointment, and now this doctor is behind. And instead of just, saying, oh, okay, well, I'm behind, somebody messed up, I'll address it at the end of the day, make sure people know how to do it, and this won't happen again. Instead of doing it like that, I mean, we're talking about a doctor here. Instead of doing it like that and just, we have some new people and just being an adult about it. Instead of doing that, this guy spends the next 20 minutes running up and down the clinic saying, who's TLJ? Who's TLJ? Where's TLJ? Who is that? Whose initials are those? Because when you make an appointment or change something in the computer, it records your initials. And I'm saying, me. Yeah, that's me. What's going on, sir? He's like, why did you do it like this? I'm like, how was I supposed to do it? If you're not trained, then you don't need to be answering phones or making appointments. Who trained you? Instead of just, understanding that I'm new and I don't know everything yet, this guy wastes even more time, because the whole time he's screaming about, now I'm going to be behind. Now I'm way behind. Now I'm going to be behind in my patients and they're going to have to wait even longer. Well, aren't they going to have to wait even longer because you're running around acting like a child? This is the kind of stuff that I had to deal with in China Lake. And let me tell you something. Being at a command with poor leadership will motivate you better than anything to get your shit together and go to some place that you actually want to go. So that's how I ended up in X-ray school, because we had a new first class come in who was an X-ray tech, and he was just a cool guy, and he kind of pulled me under his wing, and I saw him shoot a couple of X-rays, and I was like, wow, that's cool. I'd love to learn how to do that. I say, hey, you could learn how to do this. I mean, we only shoot a couple of X-rays a day, so why not? So he taught me how to shoot chest X-rays, and it was awesome. And, so this is how I acquired all these skills at China Lake. I could do some lab stuff, some X-ray stuff. I worked in pharmacy a lot. I was kind of the utility guy, if you say, just someone who can do a little bit of everything. So that's how that whole thing spun off with X-ray school. But we'll get to that in another installment here. So that was kind of the crappy stuff. But way more times were there good times. I mean, we had haunted houses, and we had car shows. I mean, China Lake is a really cool little spot. I mean, it gets kind of a bad rap for being in the middle of nowhere, and it is in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of in the middle of this bumfuck town that nobody ever heard of. I mean, I don't think that town would even exist if it weren't for the base being right there. But it's a cool little town. It's got one movie theater and the slowest Mexican food place you've ever been to. Good God, man. Everybody raved about this place called Oasis. I'm going to put them on blast right now because y'all are the slowest Mexican food place on the face of the earth. I'm not even sure that they're Mexican, man. I don't know what they are, but good God, man. I mean, when I go... I grew up in California. I grew up in SoCal my whole life, man. When I go to a Mexican place, I don't expect to wait 30 minutes for a burrito, man. Good God, they are terrible. But That's all you got to choose from out there. But again, like I say, way more great times than there were bad times. I probably had one of my first real mentors in the Navy there, guy named Skip. Skip, if you're watching this right now, brother, I hope you're doing good. He's since retired. It broke my heart that I couldn't go to his retirement. I was actually in X-ray school when he retired, so I couldn't take any time off. Plus, we just had a new baby, but I would have loved to have been there for your retirement, brother. But this is just being in the military. When you're the new guy, you got to kind of keep your head on swivel because people will mess with you. This is a great little thing that happened. So Skip kind of took me under his wing and sort of showed me the ropes, and here's where this is, here's where that is. You're going to want to do this. You're going to want to get yourself into this kind of position. He's a really great mentor to everyone on that base. I mean, everybody went to Skip. He was one of the first really good leaders that I met because everybody went to Skip before they went to anybody else, before they went to anyone their own rank, before they went to a chief or a first class or anybody else. Everybody went to Skip because he was the man. He's just trustworthy guy, reliable guy. If he's got to take time out of his own personal time to help you with something, he'll do it. He's just a stand-up guy. Can't say anything bad about Skip. But this, me being the new guy, this funny thing kind of happened. So, like I said, I'm new, and Skip and I have been kind of, he's been kind of showing me the ropes. So I get to hanging out with somebody else. I think it was another first class. I won't mention her name, but she told me. I think we were at PT, and we're in those yellow shirts and blue shorts, and she tells me, hey, Jonesy, like, yeah, what? Said, hey, go up to Skip, pull the stuffing out of your pocket, go over to Skip and tell him to hold your pocket. And I'm like, what? What the hell? What are you talking about? Just do it. Boy. So I know it's obviously some kind of a prank, but I don't know I don't know the context of it. So now I'm interested. I'm like, okay, well, what's that about? Just do it. He'll tell you later. Oh boy. So I just met this guy. I don't want to piss him off, but it seems to be that kind of atmosphere where people are kind of friendly and loose, and everything is just kind of cool. So okay, maybe I'll do it. But she told me, okay, but you got to say it like you mean it. Say it like, hold my pocket. I'm like, oh my god. So I do it. I got these blue shorts on, so I pull the lining of the pocket out, so it's kind of hanging there like I'm broke. And I walk up to him and I say, yo, HM1. He said, yeah, hold my pocket. And he just puts his head between his knees and just starts laughing. Everybody just starts laughing, and I'm like, oh god, what did I just do? And he told me, who told you to do that? Who told you to do that? I said, I don't remember. Like, don't tell me you don't remember. Who told you to do that? HM1 told me to do it. And they just say, hey, fuck you. Everybody's just laughing. Apparently what had happened is, I don't know if Skip told a story or someone in his family. I think it was somebody in his family had come by the base and met everybody and told the story that when Skip was like a teenager, he was kind of a punk kid. He was a little out of control, and they had put him in the Scared Straight program. And because he was like he grew up in the East Coast, New York, kind of hardcore, and he went to that Scared Straight program, and one of the prisoners in there kind of looked at him. I guess he was making eye contact or something. He said, hey, you come here, and he was kind of scared. And he was like, yeah, and he said, hey, and he pulled his pocket out and said, hold my pocket, and he had to do it, so he held his pocket, and the guy walked him around the prison yard like he was his property. So man, that was crazy. So every once in a while I would say something about hold my pocket, and he'd be like, man, fuck you. So that was the dynamic that we're talking about in China Lake, man. It was just good times. Everyone was great. Nobody really beefed with each other. My son was still in grade school, and one of the second classes there, I actually made third class in China Lake, and one of the second classes, she didn't have any kids, and she used to watch our kid every once in a while and give us kind of a date night. We really found, I think it's the first and maybe only time that we really found a sense of community at a command living on base. It definitely wasn't without its pitfalls, though, because let me tell you, for every great person that we dealt with, we did also kind of discover that military hierarchy. You got some female dependent whose husband is a Marine staff sergeant, and they think they can talk however they want, or it was definitely that. That was one part of it too, but that's where I learned about the dreaded dependopotami. So I learned that was a real thing, and they are out there. But you also found out why, because man, in China Lake, I was there less than 2 years and had 2 kids, man. What is in that water, man? Every other month somebody was coming up pregnant, man. Good God. I don't know if it's just not that much to do in China Lake, but have babies or what, but just something in the water, man. But man, if you're having problems with fertility, man, go to China Lake, because if we had stayed there any longer, I actually left a little before my contract was supposed to be up. I was supposed to be there for 3 years, but I picked up x-ray school, so I left a year early. If you're having problems with fertility, man, go to China Lake, because if I'd stayed there for my entire tour, we probably would end up with 3 kids. No joke. Or 3 more kids. We have 3 kids now, but we probably would end up with even more. Probably would have had 4 or 5 by now. So that's a little tip for you guys if you're going to China Lake. If you don't want kids, you better wrap it up or get some kind of contraception going on, because you're definitely going to be pumping out the units if you're out there. Oh, man. So many good memories from China Lake. And it's one of those things where, you realize that in situations you are going to pull together, or you can pull together as a team. But it's also at the other end of that spectrum, you have issues where, like, we spend too much time together, you start to work each other's nerves, and then, things can happen in that perspective, and just, it never ceases to amaze me how grown-ass men can act like children. It really does. Myself included. I'm not exempt to that, because this situation, the story I'm going to tell you, it definitely was negative on both ends. I definitely could have done a better job. He definitely could have done a better job. But I'll tell you the story. So I was in ACFL, or Assistant Command Fitness Leader. Basically someone who leads PT, heads up the biannual physical fitness assessment, PFA. So we had PT, I think it was 2 or 3 times a week. I feel like it was twice a week, like Tuesday, Thursdays we had PT. But I came in, and the PT that we had, I thought was kind of boring. It was the old, push-up, sit-up, pull-ups, run. It works, but I felt like we could do some more fun stuff. So I kind of took over the PT circle, and we started doing stuff. We would split it up. We would have one kind of down and dirty day where we would maybe run 4 or 5 miles, and then we'd have another day where we go play volleyball, or we had this circuit training stuff I did that we really enjoyed. So I tried to keep it fresh. But so we played volleyball, and we played it in kind of a different way. We played it like a round robin. There would be 4 teams. I'll try to explain this. I don't know. It's a little tough if you're not doing it. But we would have one court, but we would have 4 teams. So 2 teams would start, and you played a 1 point, and then you switch teams. So it just keeps moving. It's super fast paced. You got to keep your eyes on the game. Make sure you know when it's your turn, and then you switch and you play, and you switch and you play, you switch and you play. And it ended up going over really well. People enjoyed it, and we had a good time. But somehow, and it's just, I don't know, with these kids, man, it was a pretty young crowd. Just sooner or later, things start to go south, and people start to get bitchy and like, oh, that was in, oh, no, it wasn't. And I just want to play and have a good time. Like, guys, let's just do it over again. It ain't that serious, So this one time, there was a guy, not going to tell you his name, but anyway, he's actually bumped into him a couple of months ago here at Balboa. But anyway, he was a rank over me. He was a second class when I was a third, and he pissed me off. He was crybabying, and it was in. So I don't know, but So I kind of pulled a little bit of rank because even though other people outranked me, I was in charge of this evolution. So I was technically, I had what you call creative control. I forget the lingo, but I was the person in charge regardless of rank right there. So I put everyone to attention. I make them do some sit-ups and push-ups and say, hey, listen, if you don't want to play volleyball, then we could do this boring crap instead. So, you know, I didn't make them do it for too long, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And I said, you know what, break down the equipment, you know, get back to the clinic and try to act like adults on the way. And, you know, and I let him go. And this guy comes up and starts talking trash about, you know, like, oh, well, you know, I don't even remember what he said, but I was just like, you know what? You're like public enemy number one. You're supposed to be a second class. Why don't you act like it? And I guess he didn't like that because he turned around and kind of got in my face. Like, oh, yeah, what are you going to do? So I said, we could go right here if you want to, tough guy, you know, something like that. But we started butting heads. And then, but what was funny is that he's about maybe 7 or 8 feet away when he turns around and decides he wants to posture up and kind of make like he's going to come after me. And people had seen this confrontation start to build, and they started to kind of get, not between us, but sort of like, you know, just one-on-one, like, okay, enough is enough, relax, you know. So he had a little room to move, and does he like come straight at me like he's going to attack me? No. What does he do? He hooks around and he gets right behind somebody else that was gonna hold him back. He gets right behind him and says, "Oh yeah, what? Huh? Let's go." I'm like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, he was really committed to that one. But that's what you get when you get into the military. You get these big personalities. You get these guys who want to be tough, and just I don't know what this tough guy stuff is all about. I've never tried to be a tough guy. I just am what I am. But you know, you're gonna have, like I said in my last video, you have these people, you're gonna be up under them, you basically live with them because you work with them every day, you have duty with them on the weekends, and it's, if you don't like them, you're gonna have to learn to work with them. So those were my escapades in China Lake. I might do a part 2 on this video, but because there's definitely a lot more to talk about with China Lake. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for more Big Jones, Big Life Unleashed.